The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great.
Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Casey doesn't always wear sunglasses when he's inside, but when he does, I have no idea why. Why are we wearing sunglasses today, Casey?
I'm trying to invoke some energy. This is my last day on the show this week, and I've had this jersey in a picture frame for a very long time. Many of you old OGs will know that I had it behind me. And I hadn't worn it since the Super Bowl, and the team hasn't been the same since I put this jersey in a picture frame, and I think it's time to change that. Burrow needs some help. I'm going to give him the energy. I'm going to give him his swagger back. So I'm wearing the glasses today. I'm wearing the jersey today. I've got my Reds Believe shirt on today. I'm all the way back in on all Cincinnati sports. Just like that, Kenner. Just like that.
Hell yeah, baby.
Sunglasses, flashing the camera. I mean, there's no better way to start a Wednesday show than this.
I think you're right. The juices are flowing. We're happy to be here.
You said that was in a glass case, so did it have in case of emergency?
It was
break
framed
glass?
up there.
Yeah,
he ripped it out when he got to work today.
Oh, nice.
He didn't even wear the jersey to work today.
Well,
Our guy had a plan.
I saw it glistening in the sun, and it was just like God's message to me. It was like, it's right here. Your answers, your prayers are right here. It's this Burrow jersey. So that's what I took his message, put it on. Here to support.
When he speaks, you listen.
When he speaks, you listen. There you go. So, no, I like the positive vibes. Obviously, Monday was a downer of a show because of the Bengals loss on Sunday. Yesterday, tried to pick it up a bit, but there's still a lot of concern. We're going to talk about that. Jay Morrison, Pro Football Network, he's going to join us coming up here in less than 15 minutes. One thing I want to kick off the conversation with him about is, hey, this slow start's not new. We're accustomed to it, but why does it seem different? Like the fan base every year is always annoyed after that week one loss, but for whatever reason, the vibes seem different, and I think it's because the vibes in that locker room seem to be giving off different vibes than usual. We'll talk about that with Jay Morrison coming up, but we've made it into the show this long without hearing the beautiful voice of Mr. Elliott Rearing.
Probably the longest.
I don't think you've ever gone this long into the intro without, the voice.
Yeah, good for all of us. How's everybody doing? I think it's a glorious Wednesday. So happy to be here. Other than that, any good TV last night you guys watch?
Oh, dude, I know politics is frowned upon, but they're eating dogs, dude. That's where we stop with the political talk.
Probably smart.
But probably smart, But nonetheless, nothing good on TV.
Rhett Lauder's good TV.
He is. Do you want to do the headlines?
Let's do the headlines before we get to Jay Morrison. My fault with the dog thing. My fault. Elliott's headlines.
Three things. Joey Votto, David Bell, and leading off the bench with top headlines.
That's right. Thank you, big voice. The Reds win their third consecutive game. That's right, gentlemen. 3 consecutive games. They have won 7 of their last 10.
9 more, and
they are now.
You're in a bad spot.
No. That was a one-time thing.
No.
Yeah, it was. That was only for that specific win streak.
Oh, I think if you win 12 in a row.
No. If you go back and see the tape on that, it was because they just won 3 in a row.
We will certainly be checking the quote.
And it was in response to that win streak.
We'll check.
We know they can win 12 in a row. We've seen it happen. They're 8.5 out of a. Thank you, Kenner. They're 8.5 games out of a wild card spot. They shut out the Cardinals 3-0, as they have now shut out their opponent in 3 of their last 6 games. That's kind of wild. As somebody like me who complains that they don't have starting pitching, that's quite a number of shutouts for a team that uses 6 innings of bullpen every game. Rhett Lauder, 5 innings of 5-hit baseball, struck out 3. He has been absolutely incredible this season. ERA well under 1, so good to see that. We have TJ Friedel having a couple RBIs and a big hit. Santiago Espinal, he collects another multi-hit game. He is hitting .333 with a .383 OBP and a .455 slugging percentage over the last month. So absolutely incredible end of the year for Santiago Espinal. He should be back next year, I'd imagine.
He's the future.
He is the future. He is the future.
When we talk core, you talk Santiago Espinal.
That's right. The Reds and the Cardinals are back at it tonight, 7:45. Brandon Williamson takes on Lance Lynn. Williamson is a 2.25 ERA and a 0.63 WHIP. Lance Lynn has a 4.06 ERA and a 1.36 WHIP. So we'll see who wins that one. Hopefully the Reds extend their winning streak to 4. Around the league, the Cubs are red hot. They beat the Dodgers again, this time by a score of 6-3. Yamamoto threw 4 innings of 1-run baseball in his return. He struck out 8 in 4 innings. Dodgers commit 3 errors to lose that game. You have the Brewers. They beat the Giants 3-2. You have the Padres taking care of the Mariners 7-3. Manny Machado became the all-time Padre career home run leader.
Wow.
That's kind of wild. I didn't know he had been there for that long. But it was his 164th home run in a Padres uniform. That is enough to take home the trophy. Diamondbacks, they shut out the Rangers 6-0. Athletics upset the Astros 4-3. Guardians, they shut out the White Sox 5-0. I've got another White Sox fact for everybody.
This is a good one.
Interesting fact here. The number of wins since March 1st. The Chicago White Sox, 33. The Boston Celtics, 34. Since
wild.
March 1st, the Boston Celtics have won more games than the Chicago White Sox.
They've surely played a similar amount of games, right?
Yeah, go get your Bulls season tickets, though. Orioles, they beat the Red Sox 5-3. Mets, they lose a big game to the Blue Jays as the Braves are now tied again with the Mets for that final wild card spot because the Braves blanked the Nationals 12-0. The Tigers, shout out to Jimmy. Hope Jimmy is having a good week after a tough loss to Northern Illinois or wherever the hell they played. 11-0 the final there, so Jimmy gets one back. Tigers beat the Rockies.
Biggest win of the week for that team, and you don't even know which team it is?
No, which one is it? Northern somebody.
Northern Illinois, you're right.
Was that right?
Yeah.
Oh.
But that was your biggest win of the, you were giving Jacob crap yesterday. I'm just saying,
No. People were saying I was disrespecting the great Ohio State. That's not what was going on. Ohio State had a great win, but it was the biggest wins of the week.
No.
It
was the most impressive win.
No.
That's valid.
It was okay. Still, let's go most impressive. We're not going to take the MAC team, who's never beaten an AP top 10,
I mean, if we wanna
in
do
South
this,
Bend against a number 5 ranked Notre Dame team.
You were blown away by how Northern Illinois looked on Saturday. You thought they looked really good.
Well, it was objectively the best win.
The next the segment wasn't best win. The next segment was most embarrassing loss. That's where I would talk about that game because I left South Bend thinking Notre Dame looked terrible.
Were you there?
I left my couch with
Phillies,
South Bend TV.
Phillies,
That's fair.
Power 4.
True.
Phillies win 9-4 over the Rays. Kyle Schwarber has set the MLB record with 14 leadoff home runs this season. That's kind of wild. He left the game with elbow discomfort. He's been battling injuries all year. Pirates beat the Marlins 6-4 in the toilet bowl. Other news. Auburn's quarterback Peyton Throne says bettors are asking for money on Venmo after losing to California.
That's fun.
So, tough. The Jets-Niners had 20.5 million viewers, which makes it ESPN Monday Night Football's broadcast second most viewed Week 1 program ever.
Good stat, Elliot.
It's like
So out of all the ESPN
baseball.
Monday Night Football broadcasts
On Week 1.
during Week 1, it was the second most viewed ever. Ever. Thank you, Jacob. Give me that one.
Of course.
Took us about 5 minutes to navigate through all that. Our fantasy league. For those who don't care about fantasy football, sorry, I'm going to read these anyway. I lost to Jacob Tissett in fantasy this week, the Chatterbox Fantasy League, 100.68 to 99.16.
Splendid.
Brutal loss.
Splendid.
Some other notable wins. I think Blackmore beat Reed. You have Everett destroying Justin, and Chase beat Colin. A couple other ones happened that I forgot. But fantasy. Did you win this week?
I beat Mark, yeah.
You beat Mark? Good.
Take that, Fetters.
Take that, Fetters. All right. Headlines.
I don't know if this is considered breaking news or not, but, apparently when you get embarrassed at home after a season where you cheated to win the national championship, your head coach gets rewarded with a real contract. According
good for
to
him.
ESPN's Jake Trotter, Michigan has officially announced that Sharon Moore's contract has been signed by all parties.
I think they're in a tough spot of firing him or buying him out without an actual contract. So
You know?
Here they go.
But that was very weird. I mean, that was just a weird thing where he had said his contract is signed. The AD admitted his contract was not officially signed.
They posted a picture of
There's
him
a
signing.
picture of them saying making it official. Apparently it wasn't official, but, wouldn't be the weirdest story to come out of that university in recent years. No
Hail
doubt
to the
about it.
victors.
So, coming up here in a little bit, we'll get into our conversation. Jay Morrison covers the Cincinnati Bengals, of course, for Pro Football Network. We'll talk about the Bengals' loss against the Patriots and start looking ahead to their matchup with the Chiefs. I like that Casey came in, tried to make a difference. He has the sunglasses on. He has the Joe Burrow jersey on. All right, he's trying to bring positive vibes with this Bengals team, and that's so much for Jacob. Jacob's not even trying. He's wearing a Blue Reds jersey or a Blue Reds polo over here.
I had a Bengals show last night.
Yeah,
Check it out anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Did you hear that? You're singing.
No.
Sounds like Fergie and Jesus. I'm not really sure what's going on as far as that's concerned. But we'll get to our conversation with Jay coming up here in a little bit. And then, of course, we'll dive into some Reds. The Rhett Lauder thing is starting to fascinate me a tad because I was not a fan of calling him up. I didn't like the idea of calling him up. I thought that it could do more damage than good, but I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I thought he'd have a couple good starts and then start to fall off. Obviously, that risk still exists right there, but can't deny that it's kind of been the opposite. Sometimes Reds pitchers get called up and they look really good to start and regress as each outing goes on. He looked very solid in his first one. He's gotten better as each outing has gone on. This fly is just I tried my best. I tried my best. But no, Rhett Lauder has been actually very, very impressive and has been a reason this fly. I'm trying to know you're watching it.
I'm just watching the fly.
It's very funny.
Rhett Lauder's been fantastic, and I know we'll get into that more in a bit, but it has been a reason to watch the Bad Reds, as you guys talked about earlier.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's fun. Every fifth day, I'm excited to watch the Reds again. Hopefully,
every fifth day.
I don't know about the Reds. I'm excited to watch Rhett Lauder pitch and Ellie take a few at bats, and then maybe make a really cool play in the field.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Yep.
But maybe 30-30.
Maybe.
Get hot.
Maybe.
That'd be cool.
He's
got to get to 70. Too,
I did.
Right?
For the record, I did watch the game last night. The Reds game for the first time in a very, very long time. Ellie De La Cruz gets called out on strikes on terrible pitches more than anybody I've ever. He got called out on a pitch where he had to legit maneuver out of the way. It almost hit him.
He leads the league in strikeouts outside the strike zone.
That's great. It's just not like it's all the same thing. I don't know if umpires have something against Ellie De La Cruz, but David Bell has to go out there every single night and get tossed. Another ejection for our ejection king, David Bell. But that is wild to me. I don't know if it's just the way he stands. I don't know the setup, the approach at the
plate.
plate.
It's the height.
The height,
Aaron
maybe?
Judge had the same issue when he was starting out.
But he's not striking out on high or low. He's striking out on in and out. And I don't get it. I truly don't understand it. But nonetheless, the league has something against Ellie De La Cruz, and he's still a borderline MVP candidate.
All right, Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. Casey, how are we? Do we have Jay lined up and ready to rock? We do? All right. So when we come back, Cincinnati Bengals off to another 0-1 start on the season. And, of course, that has everybody talking because everyone thought that when the schedule came out that this was a more favorable schedule that would open the Bengals up to having a much more positive start. That is not the case. But what makes this slow start different than the previous slow starts for the Bengals in years past? We'll talk about that. Jay Morrison, Pro Football Network, covers your Cincinnati Bengals when we come back. The biggest battle of week 2 of the NFL season is me against this fly.
That's right.
Not going to lie.
Yeah.
That rhymed.
That rhymed.
That was pretty good.
I'm going to stop that. We don't need to keep that going. So we welcome you back Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, ESPN 1410 in Dayton, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett with you here on this Wednesday morning, off and rolling. Of course, we've talked a lot of Bengals the last couple days, and rightfully so. However, the way we're talking about the Bengals is not how we anticipated talking about the Bengals here heading in to this Week 2 matchup with the Chiefs. Joining us now to break down the Bengals' Week 1 loss against the Patriots and look ahead to Week 2 and onward, of course, Jay Morrison, Pro Football Network, awesome enough to give us a little time today. Jay, good morning. We appreciate your time.
Hey, Justin. How are you?
Not too bad. Let's just dive right into it. Look, I'm not sure how much you caught coming into this, but bottom line is, obviously, not a stranger. The Bengals are not a stranger to slow starts, and they're off to another one, dropping that Week 1 matchup against the Patriots. But I do have to ask, it does seem like the fans are a little bit more irritated about this when it seems like morale in the locker room seems to be a little bit more down than in years past. What makes this slow start different than years past, Jay?
Well, I mean, I think it's because Joe Burrow was healthy. That you had that built-in excuse 2 years ago and last year. 2 years ago was the appendectomy. He lost 20 pounds. He tried to put it back on very quickly. Totally uncharacteristic 5 turnovers in the opener. They still win that game if their long snapper doesn't get hurt covering a kickoff. And then last year the calf, and he wasn't right until week 5. So that. And then, they still talk about the unexpected rain in Cleveland and all those excuses as well. They just never play well in Cleveland. This felt like this is the year. You're playing a team with the lowest win total in Vegas, a first-year head coach. You're at home, and Joe Burrow's had an entirely – I don't know. I won't go to say healthy, but he participated in every practice. We still don't know. He's refused to say 100% on the wrist. I think he's still dealing with a little bit of something there. I don't know how limiting it is, but you still had him in there for every practice. And you come out and you look like that, and he just didn't look like the same guy. And I think that's the big difference. Everyone just expected, okay, finally, he gets a healthy training camp. Now they hit the ground running. 3-1's the floor. I even said that. And now you're staring at having to beat the 2-time defending Super Bowl champions on the road to avoid 0-2 again. This is 1-10 in weeks 1 and 2 for Zach Taylor. They've lost 5 straight weeks 1 and 2 game, and they were favored in all 5 of them. They were favored by at least 7 points in 3 of them. It's just it's mind-boggling how this keeps happening.
Adding to the frustration, the Jamar Chase situation, the saga has continued on here. How close were they? How close were they either Friday, Saturday, Sunday? I tried to keep up with it as best as I could. But did they ever get to the goal line?
No, I mean, that's what's the issue. I mean, Jamar said they were close, and, you know, that he didn't talk during this whole process. Then Friday, he wanted to make a couple things known. He never asked for a new contract. He said they came to him and said they wanted to extend him before the start of the season. He said, great. Now, would he have sat out all of training camp had that conversation not happened? I don't know. I doubt it. So I do think that there was a part. He may not have asked for one, but he may have not asked for one yet. And the Bengals just got to him first.
Yeah.
The other part of it is, if you're that close, how do you not get it done? How do you not see the common sense here where if you're that close, go ahead and sign the deal and take that money and invest it, and you're going to make more in interest than you're going to make by waiting a year to sign a contract, even if you get a little bit more. And if you're the Bengals, how do you not get it done? You knew this day was coming when you took him number 5 overall. Why do you try to squeeze pennies? And I know it's millions, but it's pennies when you look at the grand scheme of things. Just pay the guy and get this thing over with. And it did. He said that he was asked, at the pre-camp luncheon, Mike Brown said that we view Joe and Jamar as our top 2 players. So he was asked point blank, did the Bengals offer reflect that statement? And he said, now it does, which leads you to believe they came in with a ridiculous lowball offer. And maybe that's why he was sitting out, because the initial offer was such an insult. But it makes no sense. You knew this day was coming. You're going to pay him eventually. Just get it done and get all this behind you. Now, they don't negotiate in season. I thought with the clunker that the team laid out there in week 1, maybe they would reconsider that. But if they were that close and they didn't get something done Monday, Tuesday, now you're into game week prep. I think this is shelved until 2025.
Jay, with T. Higgins out this last weekend, Sunday, against the Patriots, do you think he's going to be out again this weekend against the Chiefs? And if he is, are we going to see more from the wide receivers outside of Jamar Chase, just over 30 yards from the other 3 receivers, and just 1 route from Jermaine Burton? Will we see more of Burton if T's not out there, or could we expect to maybe see T play on Sunday?
Well, first on T, I don't know. We'll find out later today when they practice, but if it was bad enough that he was listed as doubtful and he missed the game, he's been on the injury report. This is the 6th time since he's been here. He's been on the injury report with a hamstring injury. he played through most of them. Last year he missed 3 games because of it, and then he re-aggravated at Kansas City, and he sat out the meaningless game against the Browns in Week 18. So he's played through hamstrings before. So that leads you to believe that this is a little bit more than just a little tug. So I think it just makes sense to play it safe. And if he's not 100% healthy, I don't think this is anything related to his contract. That guy needs to be on the field. He needs to play as many games as possible. He's hitting free agency next year. I don't think this is him milking, a slight injury, anything like that. I do think it is a significant enough hamstring injury where he had to sit out. And I don't know. The hamstring injuries are so tricky. They linger and there's re-aggravation all the time. And I just think they want to get him built back up. Anything soft tissue like that, get him back up. So I'd be surprised if he plays this week, but who knows? When we get down to practice today, maybe he's out there and he goes limited today and ramps back up as the week goes on. But if I'm sitting here now before anything happens, I would say probably not. Jermaine Burton, there's a learning curve going on there, and it's frustrating. And I don't know that you're going to see that much more of him, but you are going to see more of the other guys. Let's not forget that they only ran 48 plays against the Patriots. The Patriots just ate the clock and ran the ball. So I do think you're going to see them have more offensive plays against Kansas City. I do think you're going to run the ball more. That's the way to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. But Andre Yoshivas was he played every single snap. He only had 3 catches. I do think you're going to see some more from him, and I think they need to see some more from Charlie Jones. And then Chase Brown can be in the slot and make him, that's technically a receiver. Put Mike Gesicki in the slot and throw to him more often. I thought we were going to see a lot more in the passing game overall, and I do think we will see more of that Sunday in Kansas City.
A big-time off-season addition for this team, Trent Brown, to come in and play right tackle. Obviously, getting Amarius Mims in the draft as well. Trent Brown really struggled on Sunday. I was wondering if there was any kind of update on Amarius Mims' injury or when we could see him thrust into the starting lineup or at least back competing for that role with Trent in practice, because it certainly wasn't pretty for 77 on Sunday.
Yeah, it feels like Mims was going to be the starter had he not got hurt. It still feels like once he's healthy, he's going to jump back into that starting role. He's been practicing the last couple weeks, but it's been practicing. He's not been hitting the sled. He's been doing lighters, just kind of working back in with technique and footwork and those kind of drills. So we'll see. If he can go full this week, then that's a great sign that possibly he could be out there. They like Trent Brown's experience, and he knows what to do out there. And that's always in the back of your mind, you throw a rookie in that situation, especially going to Kansas City in that environment. And then Chris Jones, maybe my pick for going to be the defensive player of the year this year. And he's not just a defensive tackle. They can put him out on the edge. They have put him out on the edge. They did it in the 2022 the AFC Championship game. So I still think we might be a week away from seeing Mims get back there. Like the Monday night game against Kansas City at home, not dealing with the crowd noise and all that. That feels like a more likely time to insert him in that lineup.
Off the bench, ESPN 1410 in Dayton, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. We have Jay Morrison, covers your Cincinnati Bengals, Pro Football Network, hanging out with us here on this Wednesday. Bengals-Chiefs coming up, Week 2 NFL action. Jay, this Chiefs matchup is it's a very interesting one for a lot of reasons. For one, it's Joe Burrow against, obviously, Patrick Mahomes, and the rivalry between those two has been very well documented. These two teams, they always play. It's a one-possession game every single time. I know a lot of fans are worried that it is the Chiefs in Week 2, coming off of that bad game in Week 1, but this also has the type of makeup where if the Bengals play against them like they always do, this seems to be a quick turnaround game earlier in the season than waiting until the end of September or October. I know a lot of people are worried about this matchup, but this seems like a matchup that if it was ever going to unite everybody preparing for a particular team, this would be the game to do it.
Yeah, and everybody, you just take the faces, the team names out. Every year we see this happen where a team is just god-awful in Week 1, and there's a team that plays great, has an amazing game, and the Chiefs absolutely did that against the Ravens, and it does not go the way you expect. And let's not forget, Burrow is 3-1 as a starter against Patrick Mahomes. Bengals are 3-2 against the Chiefs against Mahomes with Lou Anarumo, and those two losses, the AFC Championship game in 2022 when the penalty on Joseph Osai gives them the game-winning field goal. They were right in that game in Arrowhead. The game last year when they had an absolutely horrible defense and they still stopped Patrick Mahomes. That Harrison Butker won that game, and the Bengals had the lead in the fourth quarter in that game. So Lou Anarumo, he's just I almost say he's Patrick Mahomes' kryptonite, but he really always comes up with a good plan. And I do think this Bengals defense is going to go into that game with a chip on their shoulder, that they were all happy with the scheme and the way the runs fit. All the yardage they gave up on the ground was due to missed tackles, and they feel like that can be fixed. It was a week 1 problem. So I think this is going to be a close, really interesting game. But you need to see more from Burrow. He's got to get the ball down the field. He can't just be living with all these screens and checkdowns. You got to test that Kansas City defense. And I know it's hard when Chris Jones is breathing down your neck, but he needs to let it rip.
All right, Jay, last thing on the way out. We appreciate your time. Zach Taylor's been around for a little bit now. And obviously when he started, this team was losing a lot of games. That's what set them up to, well in the draft to be able to get the Burrows and the Higgins and the Chases and whatnot. Do you believe, has this been the toughest offseason camp? Has this been the toughest stretch for him as head coach? I know it's easy to say the losing early on, but as far as juggling all the personalities, juggling the front office versus the players and getting negotiations and contracts done, do you think this is the toughest stretch of Zach Taylor's run as head coach of the Bengals?
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you pay a guy $275 million and you have all these other ancillary issues. I mean, Trey Hendrickson asked for a trade around the draft time, and he smoothed that over, and that went away. And T. Higgins asked for a trade and was obviously upset about the franchise tag, and that got smoothed over, and he did everything right in camp. And then 3 days before the opener, he gets hurt. The Jamar Chase thing, Jamar threw Zach under the bus when he came back to practice, and then skipped practice again after Zach said he expected him to keep practicing. Yeah, it's all been really tough managing Joe Burrow through this injury. They were going to build in off days for him, and that just never happened. He only took 1 day off in camp. So it's been a very, very trying offseason for Zach. And maybe that's all leading up to the 0-1 start and the stinker they had against New England. But he's a guy that he's been around. This is his 6th year now, and that's the one thing. Nobody wants to go 0-1, 0-2, but they've done it a lot. They know how to dig themselves out of it. They have dug themselves out of it. So I think that's what they're resting on right now.
I lied, Jay. This is the last question, then we'll let you go. We appreciate your time. Jamar Chase, I know you said the contract negotiations are likely not going to continue during the regular season. But just because they stopped with the negotiation during the regular season, it doesn't mean the fallout from the negotiation is technically done. Are we done talking about, he was game time decision last week. Is this going to be a thing he does throughout the season? Game time decision this week? Are we done with those games? Where are we at right now with that? Because I think we've focused so much on Joe Burrow's struggle to start. T, of course, not playing. Jamar, this contract, it doesn't get done. Is this going to be one of those constant week-to-week things that we saw heading into week 1?
No, I don't think so. I think last week what you saw is he just came back to practice. So they listed him as limited in practice because he wasn't doing the full load. What happened with T is what they tried to avoid with Jamar, the soft tissue injury where you're not really in football shape. You're in shape, but you're not in football shape. I don't think that's going to be the case this week. I think he's going to go full all 3 days. Part of what made even last week even trickier was he said he woke up with food poisoning on Saturday. We did see him, popping some pills. I don't know what they were, but it was obviously trying very hard to stay hydrated. When he caught 6 passes. When he caught a pass, he typically came off the field, took the next play off, but he still played 40 of the 48 plays. I think where you have to worry about this contract leaking in is if he feels a little tug on his hamstring. He feels the slightest little thing. Does he shut it down and say, I'm not risking injury. I didn't get paid. This is next offseason. It's a big offseason. I need to be out there as much as possible. And if this little hamstring injury turns into something bigger, I don't want to miss multiple games. So that's where I wonder how this is going to play out if he feels a little something at any point in the season.
Jay Morrison, Pro Football Network, awesome enough to give us some time. Chatterbox Sports, YouTube, ESPN 1410. This is Off the Bench. Jay, appreciate your time. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
All right. See you, Justin.
All right, good stuff. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett with you here. And again, we'll step away for a few. We'll react to some of the comments made by Jay during our conversation with him. And then we'll dive into some more NFL stuff coming up here around the corner. More Off the Bench next. I need to read the comments for Jay next time. A lot of people they love his hair.
It's good hair. It's a good head of hair.
I'm saying right now that guy has great hair. Well, that guy's Jay Morrison, and he does have great hair. So So good for Jay. Good for Jay. What's that?
No, I was just gonna. The one question I wanted to ask him, and I didn't know if he'd be able to, or the one.
What
question,
kind of pills was Jamar popping?
No, I
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
gonna ask that. I was gonna ask if Jay wanted to use me as a secret filmer. When they walk across the sidewalk or walk across the busy street to practice, I didn't know if he'd want to answer that question, so I didn't ask.
I'm glad you didn't.
But I'll tell you what, I wanted to ask it
I completely forgot all about that.
because I'll do it. I'll stand out there and I'll film.
I'll shoot him a text just to get him back on for one more question.
No, I think he's had enough. But
tapped
listen,
out.
that's the one regret. But anyway, yeah, I thought there was some interesting stuff in there, and I'm hoping that what he said about the Jamar situation not being week to week, every Monday we have to do, well, we'll see how we feel on Sunday type of thing. That was my biggest takeaway. I can't do it. We have 17 more weeks of this. And if we're gonna sit here and pretend like everything's fine, yada yada yada, I can't do I don't know if I'm gonna be playing on Sunday. We don't know yet. So I'm glad that hopefully is not going to be a part of this season any longer. He's just going to be ready to play. Now he might be frustrated, which unfortunately is a part of this.
Maybe he'll play better. Play angry.
But yeah, maybe get some revenge.
Yeah.
Play so good that the Bengals have to pay you more money.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. But we'll see.
My biggest takeaway was the other wide receiver, and I know T has said the whole time that it is an injury, and there hasn't been any substantial leaks that has anything to do with the contract. But I still had that little thought in the back of my brain. I was worried about it, and I said it yesterday on the show. I think that I thought it was still a possibility, but if Jay's saying that it has nothing to do with the contract and it is an injury, he's just trying to protect himself for late in the season, then I'll take that at face value. I think that's great news for the Bengals, and I think it makes sense for D because you'd rather play 15 games at 100% than 16 games at 80% and risk getting hurt again. So the biggest thing at the end of the day for T is that he puts out good film and decent numbers in the games he does play in so he can get a good contract next season, and getting hurt long term certainly won't help that. So if he's banged up, it makes sense he'll sit out. It's reassuring to hear Jay say it has nothing to do with the contract.
Yeah.
The other thing he brought up too, I hadn't thought about, okay, cool, Jamar, we're done with that. The mess of am I going to play, am I not going to play? But the one thing he is right about, there has not been a completely full season for Jamar where he has not been banged up at least once in regards to either missing a game or playing through an injury, and that's what guys do. But to expect Jamar to go through a whole season without getting banged up in any capacity, that's wishful thinking. And once he does experience that kind of injury that Jay alluded to, even if it is a hamstring or something like that, that'll be the next phase of this. Something I had not thought about. The next phase is, okay, he's fine, he's getting ramped up, but any kind of minor injury could be treated as a major injury because the fear of it snowballing into something bigger that could result in the Bengals using that against him and saying, hey, that was when you were healthy, but now that we have this scare, that knocks your value down, which is ridiculous to begin with. But that is the concern, and that is something to keep an eye on the rest of the way as well.
Yeah, and the reports were that the hang-up with the contract negotiations at the end were where the guarantees would kick in. And if Jamar is banged up at all, that would just reinforce the Bengals' mindset of we don't want to guarantee you money right now to try to protect ourselves for this next year or two and have it kick in 2026 or 2027, which is what they wanted anyway. So an injury would just further their point, and it would make Jamar want the immediate guarantees that much more because he's not 100% and he wants that long-term security. So it would work against them both in negotiations, I think.
Yeah, I again, the injury stuff is the most important thing in the NFL when you talk about these contracts, and that's why I respect Jamar Chase. If he was, and I know he isn't, but if he was the person to reach out to the Bengals and said, I need to have more money because the risk reward here is significant in the NFL. And will he be banged up at some point this season? Probably. It's the most physical sport, professional sport in this country, and I have no doubt in my mind that at some point he's not going to feel 100%. And I don't hate players wanting to be rewarded for dealing with that risk. Quarterbacks, they get the security, but outside of the quarterback and a couple other heavy skill positions, you have to stay on the field. You have to be available, or you're not going to get paid, and you're going to be replaced. You've seen it with the running back position. Running backs are the most replaceable, arguably, the most replaceable player in the NFL, and you have to guarantee certain things so when they get hurt, you don't lose your career and your salary.
The one thing, too, that he said, so I'm willing to, again, whenever I said earlier in the week, I don't believe that the Bengals approached him. Well, I'm hearing now from actual guys like Jay and others, okay, that they did. So I'm willing to walk back when I say things like that, like, okay, cool. They did. But that's even worse than only because I don't care. I think it's cool that they approached him because, for one, it just sounded un-Bengal-like. And that, to me, at first was a good thing. Okay, if they did do it, that's great because that's un-Bengal-like, and that's what we're trying to portray to people, that this isn't the same old Bengals front office and the way of handling things despite people lumping everything together, letting obviously Jesse Bates go, letting Joe Mixon go, not, offering a long-term extension to T. Higgins, thinking that they were going to get this done very easily and quickly with Jamar Chase, and here we are with this turning into a mess. But to go to him, initiate the conversation if that's the case, and then to throw him a super low-ball offer, who in their right minds in that front office, if they're having a meeting behind closed doors without Jamar or his camp, said, all right, I like that number. Let's throw that to him and just see what he says. Like, they're not living in today's current world if that's the case. Like, that's just what, like, in no world. Usually, this is why teams don't go and make the offer to a player like Jamar right off the bat. Because he's going to ask high, knowing he's not going to get what he's initially asking for. It's going to come a little low. The teams that go to players like Jalen Waddle and others, very, very good T. Higgins level type players, but they know that they could initiate they could be the aggressors in the negotiation. Jamar Chase is going to be the aggressor. So why would you go in low and agitate him right off the top? That's where they went wrong. If they did do this, going in that super low, I'm reading that the guarantees, I mean, it's $6 to $8 million below what CeeDee Lamb and the signing bonus. It's $6 to $8 million below what CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson got at theirs. That was your competition throughout this whole signing period anyway. So those are the things that I'm like, I get that everything can get bumpy, but when you create those bumps, when you put those speed bumps out yourself and don't try to avoid them and you create them, that's on you at the end of the day, talking about the Bengals, of course.
Yeah, and I want to know why. Why are we lowballing Jamar Chase? Has this front office not been watching this team for the last 3 years?
Yeah.
Do they not realize how much he means to this offense, how much he means to what this team wants to do at the end of the day? If we want to play football games in February, Jamar Chase needs to be on the Bengals. I don't think this is rocket science. I don't think this is breaking news. And it seems like at the beginning of the summer, that might be something the Bengals front office didn't realize.
We had the debate earlier on that maybe the wide receiver down the road here would become the running back type position where you can replace any wide receiver in the NFL with a draft pick.
Yeah.
You get a high draft pick, you get a wide receiver. This is where you push back on it when you have a top 5, top 10 wide receiver and you have Jamar Chase, he makes the offense go. Joe Burrow's great. I have no doubt that if we put another wide receiver there, that Joe Burrow will be successful. Saying that, he's very successful with the wide receiver we currently have in Jamar Chase.
You still extend Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
There's exceptions to the rule when they're unbelievable players. But my gripe would be about extending a guy like T. Higgins, a top 15 or so wide receiver, because I think you can get similar value in the draft. We've seen that go horribly for teams like the Titans, trading A.J. Brown and drafting Treylon Burks, who's turned out to be a complete bust.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it has worked, where you've drafted a guy to fill into that role, and they've done a very, very good job. So I think that's a very rational way to think about it. But when you have Jamar Chase, you're not going to draft another Jamar Chase. Also, there's no replacing that level of production.
No, and there's the production's one thing, and the numbers speak for themselves. But you're quite literally, unless you bring Justin Jefferson here,
right.
I have a hard time you're going to find a better connection with Joe Burrow. I don't know. It's just one of those things where you're paying for the production, yeah, but you're paying for one of the best connections, a friendship essentially, between quarterback and wide receiver. You have to have that. You have to have the great chemistry, and they have that too. You're paying for double duty here, and not to mention, these numbers are going to get leaked. You know everything. So why are we not finishing this deal? You know that you coming to him first is going to get leaked out to the press, and we're still not going to get the deal done because now the organization becomes what everybody makes fun of it for: cheap and worthless. So that's what it comes down to. So when you see those perceptions in the national media, they point to stuff like this.
Yeah.
And we in Cincinnati know that there's certainly been a change in the tides in the Cincinnati front office ownership. We know that, but they don't know that. Yep. Nobody else outside of Cincinnati knows that, recognizes it, or mentions it. All they see is they see this organization reaching out to Jamar Chase, them not getting a deal done with Jamar Chase, upsetting Jamar Chase, and now we're at week 2. We lose to the Patriots as heavy favorites, and we have a disgruntled wide receiver, maybe. I don't want to speak for Jamar Chase. You have an injured wide receiver in T. Higgins. And then what do we have on offense? We have 2 running backs that aren't as good as Joe Mixon. And then outside of that, you have Mike Gesicki. That's not a Super Bowl team with all these situations going on right now. So that's why the national media kicks us when we're down. And these type of things just kill us.
If you're going to initiate conversations with Jamar, I just don't understand how you don't get it done. How do you not go in there with a number that, A, you're confident is a good starting point, not a disrespectful lowball, and B, have counters ready to go that you think he'll accept and know for a fact you're going to get it done by week 1 if you're bringing it up. Otherwise, don't bring it up.
Yeah.
That seems pretty simple to me. If you're going to go up to him and say, hey, we want you here long term, we want to get a contract done, you need to get it done.
Correct.
Otherwise, you're putting stuff in the way of this team getting to a Super Bowl that wasn't even there. You're creating problems from the ownership's perspective that didn't exist beforehand. If Jamar Chase said, I'm sitting out till you give me a competitive offer, then that's completely fine. I would still blame the Bengals front office for not giving him a competitive offer. But to cause him to sit out by giving him a disrespectful lowball and starting negotiations that no one expected to start, that's just absolutely ridiculous to me.
All right, so when the Bengals do things, they get picked on nationally. Sometimes it's fair, sometimes it's not. I don't know if what I'm about to discuss next is one of those things where they might get picked on. I can't tell if this is a good idea or not. So I'm going to take my take out of it so that I'm not labeled a hater, and I'm curious your guys' take. Because if you want to watch the Bengals take on the Chiefs at Paycor this week, tickets are on sale for $99. Now, you're probably saying the game's not at Paycor. That's a very good response to that. We'll discuss when we come back. This is Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Method to the madness.
I think that's fun.
When did they announce that?
All right, welcome back. Off the Bench. When did they announce that? Let's answer that. So Jay Morrison, who we just had on the show literally not even a few minutes ago, just tweeted this out.
Thanks, Jay.
The Bengals are trying something new and holding a watch party at Paycor on Sunday for the game in Kansas City. Tickets are $99 and includes a $25 towards discounted concessions. Tickets available at Bengals.com/watch party. No free ads. There you go. I don't really have a problem with this, but this is another example of something that they're being picked on for it now, right? Like the TVs being sold, the old TVs being sold. Obviously, people jump on that. Oh, how many TVs you got to sell to get Jamar Chase paid? Oh, they don't have enough money to pay Jamar Chase. So here you go. This is the Jamar Chase NIL fund. Come support the Bengals NIL fund for Jamar Chase. Come do the watch party here at Paycor Stadium this weekend. You like this? Dislike it? Does it matter? I mean, but again, I only bring it up. I don't mind it, actually. I kind of like it. I know college teams do this, too, especially like when you get to the postseason for stuff. They'll say, come support your team at their home arena, even though they're on the road.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is common around the NFL or not, but, again, this opens the door. People jumping on it right away saying, oh, this is how they're going to pay Jamar Chase.
I think it's awesome. I think it's fun. I watched the Alabama Final Four game in the Alabama Stadium, bought tickets for that, and it was sold out with students and everything. And it was an absolute blast to watch it on the Jumbotron in the stadium with a bunch of people. I think that's a lot of fun. And a watch along for $75 in the stadium, because 25 of that 99 goes to concessions. I don't think that's too bad. I don't think that's extreme. And if you want to go do that, kudos to you. I think it'd be a good time. But if you don't want to go down to the stadium, I'll be live streaming the game so you can watch it at home for free.
Why don't you go to the stadium?
Live stream from the stadium?
From the stadium.
Yeah, I don't know if they'd let me bring my PC in.
Yeah, that'd be tough. I don't know if anybody has ever been to one of these at an NFL stadium, but do they have another screen like on the field?
I don't know.
Or is it just on the Jumbotrons?
That I'm not sure.
NBA teams did this during the playoffs. Why am I forgetting? I know Boston just won it. Who do they play in the finals? Why am I drawing a blank? Dallas? It was Dallas. Right? Did they just play Dallas in the finals? Who'd they play in the finals?
No, I don't remember.
Yeah.
It was the Mavericks. Because Kyrie Irving, yeah.
NBA's thriving. No, I remember there being, when the team was on the road, you can go watch and support your team at the home arena and all that. This isn't that uncommon throughout sports or whatever. But, like I said, anytime the Bengals do anything, it's automatically met with, oh, you're doing this to pay Jamar. And by the way, and as I've said before, if anything that brings in funds. Why are we making fun of businesses for making money?
Yeah,
And people will buy those tickets, and people will go fill up Paycor to do this. And by the way, I think everyone needs a little come-together moment for the Cincinnati Bengals fans. And if coming together at Paycor Stadium to do a watch party, to watch your team beat the Chiefs in Week 2, to get the energy and the mojo back so that Casey doesn't have to do it all by himself over there. Casey, you going on Saturday? I think I know a good place for us to look for
I don't
tickets
think he's
coming
going
up.
on Saturday.
Or
Yeah,
Sunday.
The
Sunday.
NFL usually plays on Sundays.
Sunday, sorry. I'm used to the good teams playing on Saturday.
That's
you know,
right.
Unless they're in Brazil or something.
I will probably not be going just because I would rather go to like a bar if I'm going to go there. It's a bit cheaper. But I think it's a great idea. I mean, make more money with the way that you can. I mean, I don't think that should be made fun of. It should have been a thing a long time ago. It's just unfortunate that they don't have a indoor stadium so they can do this all the time.
Oh,
I mean,
if they let me buy tickets to go watch games in the snow when we're playing like in Miami, I would go.
See, I like
Bundle up, watch outside.
I like this when it's later down in the season, when the games really start to matter more. That's when I would go and do this. I think it's a great idea. I think is $99 the lowest ticket? Is that what the base is?
That was the only.
That's
price
the only one.
I saw.
That's the only price
with
available.
$25 of it being used towards concessions. So you automatically buy the ticket. You automatically
Is
have,
that a max of $25 concessions?
Well, you have like a $25 voucher on your ticket.
Okay.
So it's 25 of the $99 is able to be used
Okay.
towards concessions.
I see.
So it's
I see.
essentially
I
a
see.
$75 ticket.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think people like to be together when they watch this. I personally would not do this until again later on. If it was a playoff game on the road, I'd absolutely go to Paycor Stadium and watch the Bengals play there. But nonetheless, yeah, I think it's a good idea. It's a way to make money, and teams should be trying to make money, especially when you don't have a ton of cash like the Cincinnati Bengals.
Just to clarify, this is a watch party in the club section, so you'll be able to sit on the outside and watch on the jumbotrons, or inside the club session in the lounge on all the TVs in there, and like the restaurants and foods in there.
Oh, so this isn't for like you can't like sit in the upper deck.
I don't believe so. It says come.
Oh,
This is
well
from
then,
the,
yeah, this is a great idea.
From the
yeah.
Bengals website, it says,
No.
come cheer on your Cincinnati Bengals at the first Jungle Watch Party as the team takes on the Kansas City Chiefs. Enjoy the game on either big screen or in the comfort of the lounge and its increased new TV screens while eating and drinking some of the finest selections Paycor Stadium has to offer.
Yeah, then that price makes sense.
Mouse Cup
I think
says,
it's very cool.
He goes, I mean, my issue is with the price. He said the watch party's cool, but the price is wild. $99. I mean, and again, $99. Yeah, I'm going to go. It's $99. But if it's a family thing, you want to get the family, it's $500 right off the bat if you're going to take your couple kids or whatever. I mean,
That would be an insane move.
I think it'd be cool if they
But that's the
just
thing,
opened
though.
up the stadium.
That's what I was hoping. I think if they do that, that's really like this is fine. This is cool. But I want to see I want to buy nosebleeds
Oh, I agree.
to watch on the jumbotron.
Yeah, let me sit in the 400s for
Yeah.
an away game.
Yeah, that's what I want to
and
do.
so for spring game stuff from a college perspective, the spring game, everyone makes fun of people who go to spring games. And I was like, I've gone to multiple spring games for Ohio State, and I don't really give two rips about what's going on in the field. It's just you've been penned up all winter. You've been inside all winter, going to basketball games in arenas all winter. You just want to get that first taste of football, when you can in spring. And tickets are $5 to $10 to go to a spring game in Columbus.
I
And
love
absolutely
going to
love
spring
it.
games.
And it's one of the few times that families who can't afford to take an entire family to an Ohio State game, this is a great time to have an Ohio State type of game on the field, but to get to take the family to the shoe and experience the shoe. I know some of you don't care about the shoe, but Buckeye fans, that's a great, you know what I mean? I'm not a fan of the $99 price for this either. I think this would be a way to get people to go to that stadium that normally don't go to an NFL game, just to experience the stadium and kind of attract newer, younger audience, but potential season ticket holders as far as that's concerned. I don't think it's a huge deal, but at the end of the day, I think the $99 thing is a little steep, to be honest.
I think if the tickets were $99 for the nosebleeds, that would be ridiculous. But you get club access for the whole thing, right? It's inside.
Yeah.
You get they're limited tickets anyways if they're club seating only.
Well, what about
if this was the whole stadium, then I would be with you. But because it's only the club,
Fans will also receive field access to walk on the grounds,
Yeah,
speak to
there's-
Bengals legends, surprise guests, photo opportunities, autographs, and a chance to create a custom Sports Illustrated cover with a personalized photo on the Bengals throne.
See, that's a lot better. I think that's a great opportunity. But bringing your whole family, man, that's tough. $500 for a couple kids and your spouse.
But I don't think they're targeting.
I don't think this is
No.
a children's affair.
No.
I think this is
The
for
diehards.
people to
Yeah,
drink
correct.
in the club section.
Correct.
They want you to use that $25 voucher on about $300 worth of alcohol.
Yes.
Chris Kasky, I believe. If I said your name wrong, I apologize. He says they did this last week in Nashville for the Titans. It was free.
That was general admission in the stadium, I believe.
But, like, I think, don't you get more out of that than this? Not from a business perspective, obviously. But
Yeah.
for the fans. But nonetheless, it is what it is. I don't care. I ain't going. I don't. It don't interest me one way or another.
Yeah.
You know. So I have other problems. I have other problems.
Do you think the Browns would do this?
What?
Do you think
The Browns tickets are a much tougher ticket to get than Bengals tickets.
Are they?
Yes.
They're cheaper.
They're not cheaper.
Last week was the most expensive game in the NFL.
For what?
Bengals Patriots was the most expensive ticket in the NFL.
To watch the Patriots?
Yeah.
Season tickets, though, were one of the most expensive in the NFL. The Browns are.
Okay. Yeah, I was just talking about last week. Individual games.
With that, why do you have that smirk on your face?
I just had a joke, and I'm
Let's
just,
do it. You're very good at jokes.
I have to keep it in my mind.
Why? That's not
I'll
fun.
have to tell you after.
The
You know what
best
I'll do?
jokes.
I'll tell the joke on Box Lunch.
The best jokes are the ones that almost get you canceled, dude. Come on, let's hear it.
No, I'm good. Risk reward.
That's called
There's
discipline.
almost
If
Never
I was getting
reward.
paid Jamar Chase money, I'd say the joke.
You need those guarantees up front.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, Jamar, he's so poor.
Signing
I mean, only
bonus.
$1 million base. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
the poor guy. I thought I saw him out here with a can, just begging for change on the corner. What about Burton? I see so many fans saying we want to see more of Burton, but there's not one media member out there that has spoke highly of where he's at skill-wise right now. And that's not a shot at Burton or a shot at fans, but fans keep acting as if they have this super talented wide receiver that they're holding back on the sidelines. That does not sound to be the case.
I don't think it's skill-wise they're saying it. I think it's more of a I don't know if he knows the playbook type of thing.
I do not think he has the skill to play right now.
Really?
Yeah. He
That's
cannot run routes. Like,
Interesting.
I don't think he has a route tree.
I see. From everything that I've read, maybe I just read the wrong things. It's one of those things where it's as he continues to learn the playbook, it's just he just doesn't have it. So maybe I'm wrong on that.
I
but
do think he knows probably like less than 50% of the playbook, so
Yeah.
that definitely helps. But
Yeah.
I don't think he can run much other than straight downfield posts and corners right now. Like I don't think he has a lot of an intermediate receiving game for NFL standards. He was an outside deep threat, dominant outside receiver at Alabama and at Georgia too. It wasn't like he was a crafty slot receiver that was creating space and getting open.
Yeah.
I just don't know if that intermediate passing game translated to the NFL quite yet, and they have faith in him, because I think if they did have faith in him to just even be able to put anything competitive out there, we would have seen him on Sunday, because there was no separation from anyone other than Jamar. So seeing Trenton Irwin run 22 routes when Jermaine runs one, that just leads me to believe that they think the gap is so big that there's no justification to put him in the game.
Interesting. But we kind of talked about it last segment. But if you think of the NFL wide receiving room as something where it's very interchangeable, very replaceable, it seems like he doesn't have a lot of time to develop that before next season.
Yeah.
We draft a new one and replace him that can do it.
You're right.
Right away. So I don't know. I feel like if you're not going to use him this year, I have a hard time seeing him being involved heavily in the future. You need him this year. It's not like we're filled to the gills with wide receivers everywhere on this roster. It's not the case. You need production out of him, and especially if T. Higgins isn't going to play. Other than that, we have no offense to Yoshi. I like Yoshi a lot, but is Yoshi the difference maker in any NFL game this season? I don't think so. So you need Jermaine Burton. If he's not going to play, I have a hard time believing that he's going to be here or a big part of the future.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. I think his biggest opportunity to be a major contributor is probably this season. I don't see him. I would be shocked if he's a wide receiver 2 and on a Super Bowl contending team.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be
Big picture?
Yeah, I think he could be a very, very good wide receiver 3, and then if T. Higgins is out, I think his upside could be high enough that he could step into that role for a little bit. But I don't think Jermaine Burton's going to be a long-term solution as a wide receiver 2. Quite frankly, I don't think anyone on this team is.
So was he a bad draft pick at that?
No, because
section
I think if you take a guy at 81 and he contributes at all, I think it's a good pick. If
But
he
the
can
third
be-
round, you don't think taking him in the third round, with the way you're describing him, I think that's a bad draft pick.
If
that's
you
the
take
case.
a wide,
that high,
if
that
you get
high.
a starting wide receiver 3 in the third round, I'm ecstatic.
Okay, and I'm not arguing.
Yeah.
I'm curious
I'm
because
thrilled
when he
if
was
that.
drafted, that's not the vibe I got from.
I think the
reporters,
upside is
fans. and all that.
I
Okay.
think the upside is higher. I do think his ceiling is a low end 2, a high end 3. And if you're a Super Bowl contender, you don't have low end anything. So
This is why I don't buy the idea that wide receivers are the new running backs, only because running backs are very easy to find. I think there's more good wide receivers than there used to be. I don't think that they're as easy to find as running backs, and here's why. Like A.J. Brown, it took a few years in the league before he became A.J. Brown. Nico Collins, I mean, he didn't have 1,000 yards in the first couple. I mean, he had, I think, 400-plus yards back-to-back seasons and then burst onto the scene last year, obviously getting a quarterback. Definitely helps as far as that's concerned. But with running backs, you could draft a running back, and they're your instant running back right off the bat. Kenneth Walker, if you're the Seahawks, you can get a Kenneth Walker and instantly have a star running back right off the bat. You know, the Browns, you can get a Nick Chubb, instantly have a star running back. There's not many Jamar Chases. There's a lot of receivers that need 1 to 2 years before you finally have an idea of what kind of receiver they're going to be. So I get the last thing on Burton. So this isn't a bad thing. Like, you're not out on Burton. You're not down on Burton because you're saying you didn't have the expectations for him that everyone else seems to have.
I also don't think he was supposed to play this year. Like, I think the idea for this team was Andre Yoshivas, Charlie Jones, and Trenton Irwin are going to be good enough, especially Yoshivas, that they were going to be the wide receiver 3 this year. You have Burton develop as a deeper depth chart guy, and then he comes and plays next year and contributes next year when you either sign another receiver, draft another receiver, or he blows up and can be your wide receiver 2, which would be phenomenal. But I think that the plan for him this year was that another guy was going to step into that role anyway. So I don't know that the Bengals are necessarily as shocked that Jermaine Burton's not the wide receiver 3 as a lot of fans are.
All right, fair enough. Casey, anyone else? I mean, are you, or where are you at with Burton as we wrap this up?
I don't know if I feel the same way about his future as Jacob does. I think there's a little more to it than that. But the plan for this year for him was not to be a 3 or possibly even 4. I mean, I think that he still has a lot to learn in this playbook. I think that clearly you can see just from week 1 that Joe Burrow doesn't really trust the guys that are slotted right now in that third receiver role. He would have targeted them more often. And the chances that he did give, I mean, they didn't produce. I mean, Yoshi got the ball on a 4th down play and wasn't able to convert. I mean, that's not going to help you in the future in that confidence and that relationship that you're trying to build with quarterback receiver when you guys get chances and they fail on those chances. So I don't know. Maybe Burton does slide in there at some point, but at the moment, it's very clear. You only get 1 target, 1 chance to run a route. Obviously, he's not ready. Otherwise, he would have been in there much more. I think the talent between Yoshi and Burton is very comparable in terms of how they came out, how they tested. Obviously, if you take away the team name from where they went to the school, Princeton versus Alabama is completely different, but they had similar numbers and they had similar testing. I mean, they are very similar athletically. So I think that being said, you would go with the guy that's been in your system longer with Yoshi. You go with the guy that's been longer in the system with Charlie Jones, with Trenton Irwin. And Trenton Irwin, I mean, he got a lot of run too. I mean, he had 22 routes ran, and he was targeted often. But yeah, I mean, I'm not really concerned about the receivers because I know that the future is Jamar and T for this season, and then moving forward, those guys are going to have 1 more year under their belt, and we see a lot of bursts after your 2nd and 3rd season in the NFL here recently. So I'm not worried.
All right, so we're going to step away for a few. Casey's going to take care. Are you going to do ad reads with or without the sunglasses?
I'm doing ad reads with the sunglasses on.
As you should. So he'll take care of those housekeeping items for the YouTube side of things. When we come back, a little buy or sell, NFL power rankings. We got plenty more coming your way. More Off the Bench next.
You're good.
I'm out of it.
We're good.
Hey. How's it going, chat?
It's a pizza time.
Oh my God, is that Ray Romano?
Dude, that was
Yeah, it is. How'd you guys know
what
that?
an
that voice from Ice Age.
What an unbelievable impression.
I think it's really good. Thank you.
It's a wonderful impression, Elliot. I just thought I'd try to copy you for a little bit. Pawnee Water. Ooh, Almost left it back there. Made right here in Hamilton, Ohio. Uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that other brands use. The result being a healthy alkaline water, and some say the best tasting water in the world. Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNI water.com so you can buy this great tasting water. Has no rocks in it, so it's one of the smoothest waters you'll ever have. And quite literally, when you look at the ingredients, you know there's no random rocks in here because it's just
Just the rocks they planned on.
it's just water. It's just water in here. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, Pawnee Water. Go check them out. Great tasting water. I drink
The
it every
best
time.
tasting water.
It is the best tasting water. It's the only water I drink after I've been hungover. So
Is that why you're wearing the sunglasses today?
That's
Has
why
nothing
he's
to do
wearing
with Team
sunglasses.
Spirit, dude. Nice cover.
yeah, maybe. The Bengals Report is proudly sponsored by Encore Technologies. At Encore Technologies, they deliver cutting-edge IT solutions for a data-driven world. From mobile computing and desktop support to advanced data center solutions, they help businesses enhance efficiency and...
Productivity.
Man, that was very weak. All right, though, Jimbos.
productivity.
Do what you want.
Productivity.
Visit encore.tech where your path to innovation begins here. Game Time, one of the best, actually the best ticketing servicing app out there right now. It's one of the best looking, one of the smoothest, and it's one of the most user-friendly apps I've ever used for my ticketing needs. I used it all summer long for Reds games. Got great deals on those tickets. Currently, right now, they've got some great ticket prices for Reds games. They're as low as $10. They've got great tickets for Bengals tickets at the moment. A lot of primetime deals. All you got to do is just use the Game Time pick filters, kind of help you get rid of all the fluff, and you just see exactly what you're looking for. And yeah, you can look at the hot deals, the super deals, things like that. I don't know what Elliot's doing because I can't go over there. I don't have any of that stuff set up. Yeah, so just check out their great deals. All their pricing's all up front. You can see exactly where you're sitting at. It's a great deal. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. Create an account and use code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time.
What time is it?
Game time.
What time is it?
Game time.
That's right.
I'm going to use this mic real quick, Casey. I'm going to stand right in front of you.
Okay, you're going to stand right in front of me.
That's
Cool.
right. I feel like that would be easier. Where am I? Can I get down here? Hold on. Am I in the shot?
Very serious show.
Am I in the shot? Am I in the shot?
You're on the.
There you
Yeah,
go.
basically.
So before we had Kenner host, we did a weather report every day. And I'd wear the suit, and I'd do a weather report. So today I'll do a weather report. It's 75 degrees and sunny in Hamilton. It's going to get up to 87 degrees. Again, all you have to do is check your phone. You don't have to tune into any news station, news outlet. You just check your little phone, or you walk outside. It's a beautiful day. So everybody have a great day. And remember, it's pizza time.
Hey. When you talked about how sunny it was and then Casey's wearing sunglasses behind you, I thought that meshed very well. I thought that hit very well. Casey's really upset. His one segment a day, and you just hijacked it. Like, what the hell, dude? Housekeeping items with Elliot, ladies and gentlemen. Elliot went silent. Or, Casey went silent. What's going on, dude?
I'm just waiting for him to. Okay, now I can continue. Yeah, so housekeeping items. Hit the like button, guys. Share the show with a friend. It really helps us out. Brings in more viewers like you. Thank you.
It's always the PBS.
We will have box lunch today. We're going to probably play more Quiplash. I'm going to look at the Quiplash 3. I have to buy a whole pack for the Jackbox games because it's not sold individually.
That's fun.
It's like $20, but it allows you to get a couple other games. I don't know if you guys are interested in playing other games besides Quiplash, but they're all very similar in style where you type in answers and do funny stuff. Anyways, So yeah, we'll be having that later on, and Jacob had his Bengals show.
That's right.
Yesterday.
If you missed it, anywhere you listen to podcasts, Chatterbox Bengals, go ahead and download that sucker.
Yeah. I definitely watched it yesterday. I didn't have to listen to it on my way to work today, but you should definitely download it and take a listen to it on your way back home later today. And let's see. Other housekeeping items. Do we have any more housekeeping items? Is that it?
My house is kept.
The house is currently not kept because there's a giant fly.
There's a big
just
old
attacking
fly.
me.
Big fly in here.
There's a big fly.
As long as he hangs out around Kenner, we're good.
Yeah.
Just don't come over here.
I mean, it makes sense.
Oh, Jesus.
It makes sense. He's hanging with the Browns
What is
fan.
its problem? Anyways.
All right. Well, that should do it for
think we got
ads.
Did you like that weather report, Casey?
I did. It was fantastic weather report.
What happened to those graphics? When was the last time we used those weather graphics?
No more weather report is probably the best thing that's ever happened to the show. that was the worst segment of all time.
Well, that was the segment was much funnier because it happened during a time when we were mocking. I don't even know if I can bring that back up, but basically there was a guy on a local news station who didn't give credit to Chatterbox.
I know the situation.
And then I brought the weather report in to mock the news and local news, and maybe I shouldn't have done that. But either way, it was very funny to me in my head.
I love media beef, dude. That's
I love
my
it too.
favorite.
I still know his name, but I won't
Is
say
he
it
on
here.
your list?
There's no list. We don't discuss the
You have a
list in
list?
public.
Oh, the list
I don't have a
The
list.
list is
Uh-oh.
funny.
I don't have a
Oopsie.
list.
I opened up a can of worms.
I don't have a list.
We're gonna have to put this on the radio.
Can of
No.
worms, see what you did. Now you're going to get on this list.
I might get put on this list at the end of the day.
You don't want to be on.
Yeah,
the list.
Cincy B. I think we could get him.
All right, radio.
All right, let's go back to the radio.
I'm not saying a word until you tell us what this list is.
He just has it done.
I really hope that's not what Elliot's list is.
It's
but-
not what the list is.
Oh, phew.
Stop talking about the list.
All right, no more Elliot's list, especially if the list is what you say it's not, and then it is, and then I made you angry, and then, well,
don't wanna be on the list.
Then I'm gone for a week,
The
and everyone's
list
like,
is not a list. Stop talking about the list.
Just a
making
collection
a
of
list.
things.
He's checking it twice.
Gonna find out.
Hey,
It's pizza time.
Stupidest show ever today.
Listen. I think that's really stupid, that bit that I do. But that's one of those ones that Jake and I talk about. And like, it would take 5 years for it to get funny, but in the 5th year, boy, is it going to be something special.
I'm still laughing because I am thinking about how funny it would be in like 2020 when Jamar's contract ends.
yeah.
Like 2029, we'll start laughing about
Like,
that.
we're all married. I know Casey and Ken are already married, so I guess I'll rephrase. When Jacob and I are married, not to each other.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
But maybe, I guess, if Jacob's into
Nothing
it.
wrong with that.
No, if Jacob's into it, I'm into it. And then at the end of the day, whenever that happens 10 years down the line, just at a random, maybe we don't really see each other anymore. We're all going our separate ways. I just shake Jacob's hand and I go, hey, you know what time it is? It's pizza time.
Yeah, I give your River Motto impression 1 out of 5 booms.
All right, I'll take that. I could have gotten 0 out of 5.
No,
I could
it
have gotten
can't.
a do-
That's the thing about the boom
Oh,
meter is there's no dooms and you can't get a 0.
There's no dooms.
Well, if you wanted a doom, you'd have to do boom or doom.
Correct.
And that's disrespectful. We
You're
all know
right.
Big AJ doesn't give out dooms.
You're right.
So you go boom meter, you give 1 boom.
You're right.
We're having a little fun today. Craig Sandlin hates fun. He put today, ? He hates fun. No smiling, nothing. Just.
I wish Craig would like me.
we're just-
I wish I'm gonna have to go drive out to wherever he lives and just make him like me. We'll just be best friends. I'm gonna live
He
in
lives
his.
in the Bass Pro Shops pyramid.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I
Top-
would.
top floor. Like
I would
there's
love
a room.
to live there.
It's like an A-frame house, but it's just like
Yeah, no,
halfway up the pyramid. It's cut off. And that's where Craig lives.
I'm familiar with the Bass Pro Pyramid. That's one of the most important pieces of architecture ever created in
That's right.
in this world of ours. So yeah, I'll be there, Craig. Anytime you want.
He said invites in the mail. So there's that.
Sports.
Off the bench. presented by United Dairy Farmers. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliott Rearing, Jacob Tissett with you here on this Wednesday. Let's do a little buy or sell. There is some Bengals stuff in here, but overall, we're going to cover a little college football. We'll cover teams outside of just the state of Ohio, where good football was actually played in the NFL this past weekend. Hopefully that's not a trend moving forward, at least for the team in Cincinnati, because I know you guys don't care about Cleveland, and I don't need you to, and I don't expect you to. So
I care about Cleveland. I care about their demise.
And that's valid. I mean, care is there's a lot of different ways to
care.
The
demise of the Browns, listen, I think that's great. I think that's national news.
Juwan Thornton.
Would you rather the Bengals be good or Deshaun Watson and the Browns be bad?
Well, if you throw in Deshaun Watson, I'd rather Deshaun Watson be bad more than anything.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah.
But the Brown, again, I truly, I know this is a bit that I'm doing that I'm now walking back. I really don't hate the Browns. I mean, the Steelers are by far enemy number one for me. And to be quite honest, the Browns have been so terrible for so long that they shouldn't be ahead of the Ravens. But nonetheless, I root against their quarterback very much.
Fair enough, but I have a hard time. So Deshaun's made it easy to hate the Browns.
Very much.
But let's not. I refuse to
bring back Joe Flacco and I'll love the
fans
Browns
off the hook. Because the Browns were just as hated before. Now Browns fans can't really go back at anybody because the second you drop any Deshaun Watson line, I got nothing.
I hated the Browns just as much with Baker. I'll be very clear.
I was going to say, because Baker, this is why the Baker stuff pisses me off pretty hot and heavy right now. Everyone out there, bet you feel stupid for letting go of Baker. No, letting go of Baker at that time was the right decision. Maybe getting Deshaun wasn't the right decision, but everyone out there that's ripping the Browns for not having Baker Mayfield now, you're the same morons that were also going to bash the Browns for extending Baker Mayfield. Oh, the Browns, you're about to be the clowns. You're going to give Baker Mayfield $35, which is wild that was only 3 or 4 years ago, that $35 was like an awful a lot of money. That's why the Baker thing drives me up the wall. I do like Baker Mayfield. I'm actually happy that he's actually playing really well, but that's not who he was when he left Cleveland. It's not like this quarterback that's playing right now for Tampa. It's not like this was the guy that played his last season in Cleveland and they just let him go. In fact, if he played like this that last season in Cleveland, this Deshaun thing never happens and he probably gets paid more than $35 at that point. So let's let both things can be true. The Browns made the right decision looking onward from Baker Mayfield at that time. And made the wrong decision pretty much with Deshaun. Made the wrong decision with Deshaun Watson. I think both
fair.
Can be true.
No free ads. But what were the commercials that he did all the time?
Was it the state
insurance?
State Farm?
What was it, Progressive or what?
In the house, yeah.
Okay, I like that. I like those commercials.
Yeah, they said so. I know I was sad when those commercials left.
They evicted him.
Those are my favorite.
When Deshaun Watson moved into the Browns stadium, he had to knock on all the neighbors' doors.
No. My second favorite. So that's my favorite commercial. My second favorite commercial is the Mike Moustakis one. Hi, I'm the new guy.
Yeah, he looks like I just got off the plane, didn't shave.
No, yeah.
Nothing. I mean,
that's probably one of the very first things they do because Hunter Green got one too.
The new Dan Campbell Applebee's one's good.
That is very, very good.
You got to cover your mouth at the menu. It's just a free ad segment now.
I don't like the Mahomes one, whatever one he does with State Farm. Don't like that. Aaron Rodgers, not good at them.
Discount double check.
Classic. It's classic, but it's not good. Any other ones? No more free ads.
The Baker and the Campbell commercials are always good because those two have legit personalities.
Oh, yeah.
And they just, I don't know, they blend in well. You're taking Patrick Mahomes and telling him to be something he's not. He's supposed to go be, I don't know. That's why those don't connect. And plus, everyone hates the guy that's dominating the NFL right now, regardless of who that is. But, all right, let's do this, a little buy or sell as we kick things off here. And, in fact, it's actually a perfect segue into it because it involves Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's being thrown in Cleveland fans a lot after week 1. I think it was a perfect storm. I mean, it's Baker Mayfield had probably one of the best performances of all quarterbacks in the NFL. 18 quarterbacks in week 1 threw for under 200 yards. 18 quarterbacks, 18 offenses had horrific starts to the season over the weekend. That's why the Bengals, you feel isolated. Why is this happening to us? I think it's happening to a lot of teams across the board with these horrific offensive starts, no doubt about it. But Baker was one of the few that had a very good week 1. 4 touchdowns, didn't throw for 300, but it was 270-something, whatever it was. But here we go, the week 1 overreaction. There's overreaction for college football. There's overreaction, of course, for NFL, no doubt. But it's wild when I'm watching First Take. It's wild when I'm watching Get Up and all the new name shows that I can't remember now that Fox just threw out. It's wild how many times Baker Mayfield has gotten brought up as a potential dark horse MVP candidate. Buy or sell this. You could tell by my voice I'm selling the hell out of it, but buy or sell Baker Mayfield as a dark horse MVP candidate?
I'm going to buy it. I'll buy it because I think he could put up some pretty gaudy numbers in Tampa Bay. And for the same reason I liked the Falcons a lot coming into the season, that division is terrible. You get 2 games against the Panthers. You get 2 games against the Saints. I know the Saints look good on Sunday, but I'm pretty confident that was just because they were playing the Panthers. The Buccaneers are going to have a lot of opportunities to win a lot of games and put up a lot of points and a lot of yards. You know Mike Evans is going to get 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns because he does it every year. So that's a pretty good floor for Baker's passing. You have Jalen McMillan, who looks pretty good as the third receiver. Rashad White's giving you a lot in the passing game. They don't give him a lot of goal line touches, so it's a lot of 1-yard dump-offs in the flats and stuff for Baker, which will help his touchdown numbers. I think this is definitely a conversation that we could be having in week 14, 15, 16, which means this is true. I think if he's in that discussion late in the season, then he's done his job, and I think that's definitely a possibility. Though a stretch, I'll buy that at this point. I think he could be.
I'll sell that. This is going to be a cute little story until like week 4, and then we'll start to see it taper off. They play in a bad division, and he's going to be able to put up points against some of the trash that the Buccaneers play, respectfully, of course, this season. So he'll be able to boost some stats. But as long as Josh Allen's healthy and as long as Patrick Mahomes are healthy, Lamar Jackson healthy, Joe Burrow healthy, Justin Herbert healthy, I think just even name recognition would get an MVP over Baker Mayfield doing whatever they do in Tampa this season. It's no knock on Baker. I think he's had a career resurgence that I don't think any of us in this room probably thought was possible. At least I certainly didn't. I guess I shouldn't speak for everybody in here. But I didn't think that after he left Cleveland that he was going to be a relevant quarterback again. He has become that. And now, yeah, I don't think that he's an MVP candidate. I think he'll finish maybe top 10 in passing, but I don't think he'll be an MVP candidate. I sell.
Ooh, I'm going to definitely sell this as well. His schedule's brutal. I didn't realize how bad the Buccaneers' schedule was. Just
playoff team.
Listen to this. They go to Detroit. They play the Eagles. They play the Ravens. They go to Kansas. They play the 49ers. They play the Cowboys. That's a tough schedule. And it's all spread out throughout their entire year. Not really a tough stretch anywhere in there. So I'm going to just have to sell that just based on who they play here recently, or who they play on their schedule, I'm sorry. I know they play a really, really easy division, and I recently saw a stat where Baker Mayfield, since joining the Buccaneers, is 3rd in touchdowns in the NFL. That's a crazy number to think about, but it's hard for me to believe that they'll be able to do that with a first-place schedule with who they're playing. I'm going to have to pass. I'm going to have to sell on that one.
So, to be clear, I am a fan of Baker Mayfield, but the MVP talk, and again, this is typical week 1 overreaction type stuff at the end of the day. The team's not good enough for him to win MVP, I guess is where we should start. Can he win enough games to win MVP? This is an 8 to 9 win team. Where are you with their win total? About 8 to 9?
No. I think if you're going to win that division, it has to be double digits.
No. Like, what's their win total? What do you think the Bucs' win total is on the season? Like
the betting line?
Yeah, I haven't even looked. Is it
probably like 8.5?
Yeah. So that right there, if that's what they are, that's you're not winning MVP on that team, on a non-playoff team.
Yeah, but if they win the division, I think he could be. And if they win the division, you're going to have, I think, 10 or 11 wins because I don't think the Falcons are going to be this bad the whole season. So giving him the benefit of the doubt of them competing with the Falcons down the stretch, and I don't know. I think it could be closer than we think.
So is there a chance? Yes, but I'm going to say no. I'm going to sell this. The one thing with Baker, too, is he has never put back-to-back good seasons together. That was the problem in Cleveland. He gets drafted after 0-16. They win 7 games. He didn't even start the first 2 weeks. They win 7 games in the final 14 that he started, and then was horrible in year 2. And then he comes back, bounces back, has a great year 3. They make the playoffs, and of course they get to they're a play away from getting to the AFC Championship game in the divisional round against the Kansas City Chiefs. And then the defense, they can't get off literally the Chiefs get the ball with 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, and Baker never touches the ball again. Unfreaking real, right? Like, then we think we have something, we being Browns fans, and then the next year We all know what happened. It was the year that led to everything blowing up and basically them selling their souls to go after Deshaun Watson, and they've been the punchline of jokes ever since. And then Baker leaves and was not very good with the Panthers, and then looks really good with the Rams, and then goes to Tampa and has a very good year. Now, Game 1 after a good year last year. Technically, you could say he's off to back-to-back good starts, but the consistency, Baker's never been consistent, and that's going to be the thing. So based on what I've seen up to this point, I'm going to sell this as far as I'm concerned. But it would be the most Browns thing ever.
Yeah.
There's no quarterback that a team drafts with the number 1 overall pick just outright lets go, and then that quarterback goes somewhere else to win an MVP. That never happens, and if it does, it would so be Cleveland at the end of the day. So there you go.
Poor Cleveland.
All right, next up, the Cincinnati Bengals former running back Joe Mixon. I don't know if this was a shot at the Bengals or not. I mean, I'm curious your guys' thoughts, but Joe Mixon says he does not wish to play the Bengals as part of some revenge game this year. When asked about it, he goes, actually, no, I don't. I'm fine leaving them where they are, just like they left me. That's the quote in the line that made its rounds yesterday around the NFL. Obviously, Cincinnati off to a slow start, 1 game into the season, and Joe Mixon, you compound that with the dominant start, one of the best outings from a running back in week 1. Buy or sell that the Bengals will regret moving on from Joe Mixon?
Sell. I don't think the Bengals are going to regret moving on from Joe Mixon at all, because we're going to have to look at this in 3 years and talk about it. We're not talking about this at the end of this season. And I think a lot of Bengals fans will, and I think a lot of Bengals fans will be very annoyed, because at the end of this season, I've said it the entire time, when you pull up the stats, Joe Mixon will have more carries, more yards, and more touchdowns than any of the Bengals running backs. That's just a fact. He's in a system that suits his style of play better. He got 33 touches on Sunday. That hasn't happened with the Bengals in many, many years, with him being the feature back in our backfield. And he put up great numbers, and he's going to continue to do so. I think Joe Mixon's going to have a phenomenal year, but you're also not paying him a long-term extension in Cincinnati. That's not a thing that works for you. And you traded him to Houston, and he got that long-term extension. He's a top 10 highest paid back in the NFL at this point, and that's not something the Bengals wanted to do. So unless he can be a top 5 running back statistically in the NFL for the next 3 years, I don't think the Bengals are going to regret this move at all.
It just he wasn't the reason the Bengals were so successful the past 3 years. He was a reason, but he was not the reason. The reason is Joe Burrow. The reason is Jamar Chase in the passing game. That is why the Bengals have been successful. Joe Mixon was a very, very good running back, and people can look at this week 1 and say, look at the stats, look at the differences, and they can do that. But you have to pay Joe Mixon. I don't know what the contract would have been for this coming year, or how much they would have had to pay him. But it was probably going to be too expensive for what his role would have been in our offense. The Bengals don't like to run the football. They don't run it a ton. So why are we paying a guy a lot of money to not do his job? It just doesn't make sense to me. So, yeah, I'm going to sell this. The Bengals won't regret moving on from Joe Mixon. For the record, I think he's a great running back. I think he's going to have maybe the best year of his career in Houston this season. I think they're going to use him probably more than we ever did.
Agreed.
But saying that, the Bengals' offensive scheme, and maybe that's to the fault of the Bengals' offense, the coaching staff, maybe that is their problem. But yeah, I don't think the Bengals are going to regret moving on, because it's Joe Burrow's team. We're going to throw 35 times a game, 30 times a game. That should be the plan.
Yeah, I don't think that they're going to regret missing or moving on from Mixon. I do think that the conversation, like, I would shift it, because this is just how I feel about the team and the direction that they could have gone. That maybe they should be trying to be a more run-influenced team, just to give Burrow more opportunities for different looks. But you don't have to have Mixon in order to do that. And if they're going to continue to throw 35, 40 times a game, you want guys that can be explosive. Colton just put it in here in the chat. Mixon's longest run was 13 yards. Nothing has changed. Yeah. He's not changed as a player. You give Mixon 30, 35 touches a game, he probably gets 150, 175 yards in the Bengals offense. But then Joe Burrow has limited opportunities to shine. So that's where you kind of miss out on the reason why, like Elliot so eloquently said, why this team's so good, and it's Joe Burrow. So I don't think that they're gonna be missing Mixon per se in their scheme, but I do think that it would have been more advantageous to not keep him, but have a better scheme in place to utilize him more.
Off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Buy or sell, Bengals will regret moving on from Joe Mixon. There are moves you make big picture, and then there's moves you make to help you win now. Burton was a guy that you drafted a big picture draft pick,
Yep.
As we talked about earlier. I think Joe Mixon, and at the risk of sounding hypocritical, I was fine with them moving on from him. But at the same time, I was fine with them moving on from him because it's not that I thought he was washed. I just didn't think he brought the explosiveness that the team needed. But I know you guys keep saying that the Cincinnati Bengals, well, that's not, it's all about Joe Burrow and it's all about the pass game. The Houston Texans are all about C.J. Stroud and Stephon Diggs and Nico Collins and Tank Dell and Dalton Schultz. They have more weapons than the Bengals at this point just because they have more money to spend, obviously. And they're still found a way to prioritize Joe Mixon and prioritize the quarterback, C.J. Stroud, having a fantastic game in Week 1 as well. So Week 1, not an overreaction. I'm going to lean towards selling this, that they're not going to regret it. But if C.J. Stroud goes on to be dominant all year and Joe Mixon, and they find a way to still maximize him, all while having a Tank Dell, a Nico Collins, and a Stephon Diggs and Schultz, that to me says that the Bengals dropped the ball as far as how to utilize him to get the most out of him. Because I get it. Oh, well, their scheme, the way that they wouldn't use him the same way. Well, then maybe they should use him the same way, this fly. I'm telling you what, it's getting me every time. But, then that leads to a whole other conversation of, well, maybe the Bengals shouldn't be so Big 12-ish. Maybe they shouldn't just be all pass. Because when you become all pass and you don't have a run game to balance it out, you look like you did against the Patriots. But even I, a hater, don't think how they looked against the Patriots is who they really are. So let's pick up with this. We get back. There's more buy or sell. There's some college football stuff in there as well. We'll be right back. More Off the Bench next. Chase Wellman says the fly smells the alcohol. That's what it's attracted to. Mark Fetter says Kenner has a new friend. This fly is only coming at me.
Only you.
The fly, it's interesting, though, because it's just slow enough where you think you can get him, but at the same time you can't because he's a fly.
Is this like the fly episode of Off the Bench?
Yeah, it is. It's the fly episode of Off the Bench.
Little Breaking Bad.
Because the fly has a lot of symbolism.
That's right. And it's up to you to tell us what it is.
Correct. It's not our problem.
It's not our job.
Your job.
Picking up with the last, just any final thoughts on any counters to what I said about Joe Mixon. Obviously, I'm going to sell it. I don't think they're going to regret it as of right now because I don't think Joe Mixon's going to average 160 yards throughout the season. But if the Texans find a way to maximize getting the most out of C.J. Stroud with all those receivers and he becomes a dominant running back again, then I think maybe they're not losing sleep over it, but I do think it'll be a bad look for the Bengals if the offensive struggles continue for Cincinnati.
Certainly.
Which I don't think that they will. But I also don't, the ceiling's high for the Bengals offense. I just wonder if they reach that ceiling because of all the things we've talked about throughout, ever.
Yeah.
This offseason.
Yeah. No, I think the Joe Mixon thing's going to come down to when you grade it. And as we go, I think it's going to look worse before it looks better. But I think at the end, I think it's all going to be fine by the end.
Yeah, if the buy or sell was, well, I feel bad if Joe Mixon has 2,000 yards this year and the Texans win a Super Bowl, I'll feel very, very, very bad. But will the Bengals regret it? No, they will not.
They don't regret anything.
Right.
They don't have a pulse.
Correct. Mike Brown doesn't have eyelids.
Yeah, so.
He doesn't blink. It's the only way to not blink.
I like that.
On to the next one. The Patriots.
Old enough to not have eyelids.
Heading into the matchup with the Patriots, everyone viewed the Patriots as the worst team in football. And just because they get an upset win in Week 1, I don't know if that truly means that they're not the worst team in football, at least from a win-loss total standpoint coming into the year. But you have to be concerned if you are a Panthers fan. Not a lot of Panthers fans out there, but I know everyone's keeping an eye on that. The worst team in the NFL, is it the Panthers? Are the Panthers the worst team in the NFL? Again, gauging all of this off of 1 week of NFL action, of course. The Panthers are the worst team in the NFL, buy or sell.
Yeah, I think I'm going to buy it. I mean, what did they change, really? I mean, they drafted Xavier Legette at the end of the first round. They didn't even have a first-round pick, and they were clearly the worst team in the league last year. You would want to see a little bit of improvement from Bryce Young, but he certainly didn't look like it in Week 1. The Saints are a team that I don't have much, if any, expectations for, and they got blown out in terms of what we don't see in the NFL very often. A 47-point game for the Saints offense, which is nowhere near a top offense in the NFL. I don't know what the Panthers really have going for them, and they certainly look like the worst team in the league to me so far. The Patriots being that much worse than them preseason odds was a little bit surprising to me because
Yeah.
I still think I said it going into the Patriots game, so this isn't entirely a flip-flop, but I said that defense is pretty solid. They have good pieces on that Patriots defense. I can't find good pieces on the Panthers. The Panthers were the 32nd ranked run defense last year, and that's with Derek Brown, who's one of the best interior linemen. Elliot's favorite player in the entire league. Yeah,
your guy's hurt. So you're going to buy that? I'm also
100%.
going to buy it. The Saints are not going to have a winning record this year. They just put 47, beat a team by 37 on Sunday. I think the Panthers are truly terrible. I don't mean to be disrespectful to Bryce because I think maybe in a different situation it could have been better, but he has looked truly, truly, truly terrible. Some of the plays I saw on Sunday, I was watching some of the highlights, and it was disgusting. I mean, it's truly. I don't know if there's a worse situation to be. I know they're building that stadium. What's that year? 2075.
Yeah, I think they'll probably have a new stadium by the time Bryce Young hits 6 feet tall.
Yeah,
Decade or so.
2075. No disrespect to Bryce Young. I think he's looked terrible. I don't think there's a worse quarterback in the NFL today, right now, outside of your guy, Justin. But I think, given all that, I don't know what team would have the best chance to lose to the Panthers. I'm trying to think right now. Because if the Patriots did to the Panthers what they did to us, they win that game by 32.
We'll check it out in Germany.
That's right.
The
That's
Panthers
right.
play the Giants in Germany, and boy, oh boy, that's going to be a thriller.
Giants might be the answer. But I still
Giants are a sadder team, because they're paying their quarterback $40 million. I think the Panthers are worse.
I would still take the Giants to win that game.
I would
Giants
too.
be favored in that game. I don't. Which is that the team that gives them the best chance? Let me see. I'm trying to think.
They play the Saints again.
The Saints, maybe.
Maybe they used all their points. They used all their points in week 1.
Yeah, it's brutal. I couldn't imagine being a Carolina Panthers fan.
Is this the trust tree right now?
Yeah.
Are we sure?
This is the trust tree.
Okay. I took Panthers +4 on Sunday.
Yeah, it's brutal.
I thought they were going to cover. A lot of the sharp money was on the Panthers. I thought they were going to look better this year. Could not have been more wrong. Yeah, they're an abysmal team, and they're going to get worse, I think. But to be fair to Bryce, that's my guy. I don't think anyone would look good there. Anyone in the league. You take out Josh Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar, that elite tier of quarterbacks. Anyone else in the league, I don't think would be able to succeed in Carolina. And I'm not saying that he's as good as CJ. I said going into the draft, I think CJ is better than Bryce. But I think if you switch their situations, Bryce is a lot closer to what CJ is doing right now, and CJ is a lot closer to what Bryce is doing right now. I don't think Carolina is set up for success for anybody at all.
I saw a clip of Todd McShay talking about it yesterday, and they were having highlights underneath him speaking. The offensive line, what is that? It legit.
Yeah.
Like when the ball is snapped to him, he has like less than a second to make a decision.
There was a play where he got sacked over the weekend, and the screenshot of him, he was standing up. He hadn't been brought down yet, but he was wrapped up by the defensive tackle. Both of his guards were still in their stance. It was one of the most preposterous screenshots I've ever seen.
That's a good word. I haven't said that word.
And Ike Ekwonu moonwalks at left tackle every play and just gets beat. That's a top 10 pick. The Panthers have tried to put skill at necessary positions and failed dramatically in this rebuild. So I don't think they have any chance of being better with this even core roster. I think they have to almost trash it and do it again because the Caleb Williams trade was so bad.
I agree.
It's almost incredible because it's hard to swing and hit and just keep hitting to be like a dynasty. It takes a lot to swing and miss this many times to be this bad, and they are bad. And without guys like Derek Brown, even on their like some of their like little light that they have on their roster, just gone for the season, it's just abysmal. Their defense can't stop anyone. Their offense, I think they can run the ball a little bit, but they can't protect. They can't protect Bryce Young to save their lives.
When Jonathan Brooks comes back, probably.
Yeah, I just think if they're ever going to win a game, they have to like keep it close. They have to be able to run the ball. They have to do exactly what the Patriots did, and the Patriots are also pretty bad too. But they still have.
I know that game on Sunday probably didn't allow for a lot of rushing attempts, but I mean Hubbard and Sanders, I don't know. That's tough. It's a tough backfield.
Yeah, I mean, they are for sure the worst, though. For sure. I don't think there's any light at that tunnel.
The last time we saw a team that drafted a quarterback very, very high and then make a change that quick to drafting the guy number 1 overall, I think was Arizona.
Yeah.
You had Josh Rosen. You traded up to draft Josh Rosen. There's the fly again, and it's only when I'm on camera. If I'm not,
It was just
talking,
chilling on your hand.
I'm sure it is. But no, we saw the Cardinals who had Josh Rosen. They gave up on him very quickly, and then ended up getting the number 1 overall pick. And they go and they get Kyler Murray, and that worked out well for Arizona. Again, you're only as good as your quarterback is, and we remember saying the same things about how dysfunctional Arizona was at the time. They turned it around. I'm not saying they're winning Super Bowls, but they don't look as dysfunctional now. Nonetheless, so we'll see. But yeah, no doubt buying that. They're the worst team in the NFL, and we'll see. Again, they're going to most likely, they would have had the number 1 overall pick last year, but they traded that away, and the Bears thank them for that.
More likely chance the Bengals get the 1 seed, the Panthers don't win a game.
Bengals get the 1 seed.
It's more likely?
Yeah, I think to lose 17 games in a row in the NFL is next to impossible. I don't think the Panthers are going to do it. And I already have a bet in the future that I love so much, and it's Week 12 when the Panthers take on the Chiefs. The number's going to be so big.
What?
So big.
Do they have that spread out now?
No, but I'm just looking ahead, and
right.
That number's going to be like 20. Because the Panthers are not going to win a game.
What's the biggest spread? Didn't we see it last year?
I think so. I forget what it was.
I forget what it was too. Oh well. Sorry.
Off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410, ESPN Radio in Dayton. The next one, Casey, don't pull up yet because it wasn't on there, but I want to bring it up just because if the Panthers are picking number 1 overall coming into the season, one quarterback that everyone kept saying was most likely going to be the number 1 quarterback taken off the board, Shedeur Sanders. Can you imagine Shedeur Sanders going from one joke of a football program going to the biggest joke of a football franchise in the NFL, the Carolina Panthers? Buy or sell? I think we're all going to sell the idea of Shedeur Sanders being the number 1 overall pick, but buy or sell Shedeur Sanders being a top 10 pick in next year's NFL draft at this point?
Can I sell Shedeur Sanders being a top 10 quarterback in the draft?
Fair.
Yeah, I think Shedeur Sanders isn't going to be a first-round pick. I would be shocked. And if he is, I think it's drafted off name value. And I mean, I don't want to accuse anyone of anything, but Deion's already said he has 4 teams he wants his son to go to. So he can pull some strings and have something happen there. I think the biggest team I thought would make something happen for Shedeur just knocked themselves off the board with the Cowboys. I thought if they let Dak walk, they didn't want to pay Dak. I think them drafting Shedeur was the most logical thing with the Deion connection to Dallas, obviously. But that's not on the table anymore. I don't know who would want Shedeur because if you're not ready to win right now, that's not a guy I want in my locker room.
No.
If I don't have a team that's ready to win a Super Bowl right now, Shedeur Sanders is not the guy I want trying to lead that locker room for a rebuild. So there's a lot of other talented quarterbacks in this class. I know it's not, one that's going to go down in the record books, but there's still some talented players in this class, and there's a lot of great players outside of the quarterback position. So I just implore the teams that are going to be at the top of the draft, if you need a quarterback, don't reach. Take the stud left tackle, take the stud edge rusher, take the stud corner, whatever it is. You have other needs on your team. You're picking top 10 for a reason. Don't set your franchise back by reaching for a quarterback in the top 5 or top 10, especially a quarterback like Shedeur that I just quite frankly don't think is going to work in the NFL.
I think there's a maturity problem. So and maybe it's because he plays for his dad, and you basically get to be king of the castle. But at the end of the day, I don't think that kind of attitude, at least what I've seen, maybe I'm wrong, at least what I've seen at Colorado, leaving games early and stuff like that, allegedly forcing the band to play your song. I don't think that flies in the NFL. If I was an NFL franchise, I would not want him.
So, yeah, in case I don't know where you're at with Shedeur, but people say it's a maturity thing. I just think the guy's a jerk.
Yeah.
I just think he's a jerk. And we see so many times the NFL draft, and I've said this for years, when you go through the draft evaluation process, they're not looking for reasons to draft you. They're looking for reasons not to draft you. They're making up. So C.J. Stroud, at one point, I believed was one of the dumbest human beings on the earth. Now, I don't think that, but, they try to convince you of that, right? Like the NFL during the draft process try to convince you that, man, this guy, was just so bad on all of these, cognitive tests. And my gosh, he's not very smart at all. And had one of the best, if not the best, rookie season at quarterback ever. I don't really care. They're not looking for reasons to draft you. They want to find something to tear you down. So because they're afraid. They're afraid to invest into players, and they don't want to have egg on their face. So that if he does end up not working out, they could say, "See, we told you. That's why we were out on him." There's a lot of teams with egg on their face now because of C.J. Stroud, no doubt. But as far as Shedeur's concerned, he's making it so easy. He doesn't even have to sit down with these front office personnel members for them to dissect what's wrong with this cat. They're already seeing it. He's just a bad teammate. this has nothing to do with his athleticism or ability to throw a football. I think he could throw the football. It doesn't mean I think he's a top 10 talent, like top 10 NFL quarterback or anything like that. I think he's a little better than what maybe Jake's giving him credit for, but it doesn't
I'm
matter.
going through right now, and I rescind not being a top 10 quarterback. He's around 6 or 7 for me.
So, yeah, but like at the same time, he's not an easy guy to cheer for. People could spin however they want to about why people don't like him, this, that, and the other. But the bottom line is he has made it a hobby of throwing teammates under the bus. I mean, a leader. I mean, Joe Burrow, being Bengals fans here in this area, there are so many times where an outsider looking in where I'm like, man, if Joe Burrow doesn't throw that offensive line under the bus, I don't know what the hell's wrong with him. Yeah. Never once. Gets sacked 70 times in a season, never once threw guys under the bus. That's why everyone on that team that has played with them loves him to death. Everyone knows that offensive line has sucked during Joe Burrow's time in Cincinnati. This is not so bad now, but you know my point. It's like one of those things where at no point did Joe Burrow ever throw that offensive line under the bus. That's what leaders do. Like, we all know it, but we don't need him to say it. We all know that Shedeur Sanders' offensive line isn't good. You don't need to tell us that, though. What that says is you're not there for your teammates. You're not there for the betterment of your team. You're there to make sure that everyone knows, hey, I don't suck because I suck. I suck because of them. That stuff don't fly in the NFL.
No,
I will not be rooting for him. I'm not pulling for him. And Dion can spin it, all the criticism of his son, how he wants to, and try to blame people for being a certain way. I don't care. Shedeur, I'm out. I'm not pulling for him. I'm not rooting for him. And I wish Travis Hunter played on any other team in the NFL, in college football except Colorado, because that's the real gem right there is Travis Hunter. So,
yeah,
we'll see.
I'm with you on that. As of today, week 3 of the college football season, I am 100% out on any team drafting him in the first round, period, just because of the character concerns. I don't care how good he is as a player. There's more to it. He's the face of your franchise. Because he plays that position, quarterback, it would be malpractice for any franchise to draft him in the first round as of today. But he can do a lot to change my mind in the next rest of the season. He could really shape up and become a good human being. But as of today, as of right now, even with the ability, I would not draft him in the first round, period.
Yep, can't wait for when the Browns take him. That wraps it up on the radio side. Until tomorrow, this has been Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.
Hey, so we're going to end a little early, but for Box Lunch members, we will be up in about 15 minutes. We'll be up at noon.
We'll be up at noon.
So Box Lunch, we are doing it live. I think we might, we have a couple extra by ourselves, so we'll do it there. Thank you, everybody, for watching today, and we'll see you in 15 minutes.